Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 5th May 2017. The first article, a non-state view of Kerala, it is about EMS Namboodiripad government and its achievements, which is the first non-Congress government formed by the Communist Party of India, and it was in Kerala. Today, if you recollect Kerala, you can understand it as having a robust local government, defined land reforms, and to an extent, a strong public sector. The seeds of this, origins of this, they lie in the EMS Namboodiripad government. Historically, also, it's very important in the post independent India for the reason that Article 356 is first misused again as the Namboodiripad government. So, what are the major steps taken by the government which made the Kerala distinct today? We can divide that into land reforms and then education sector. So, the Kerala Agrarian Relations Bill was passed by the Namboodiripad government. It has kept the land ceiling and allowed for the redistribution of the land. It has given the ownership rights to the tenants and also to the agricultural laborers. So, the social relations in the Kerala society have dramatically changed because the land ownership is one of the factors that featured in the caste relationships in a society as the land got redistributed and also economic empowerment has happened or access to economic resources has happened to different sections of the society. The roles played by them in the society also got redefined. So it laid a seed for more egalitarian society. And the second thing is the economic front, the significance today, if we analyze, it is not much impactful. The reason is due to Gulf migration, which has started due to globalization. In this, many of the people have migrated to the Gulf, and workforce and availability of labor has dramatically decreased in Kerala. And relative wealth also has decreased the labor participation rate. So our point is, the land reforms which are being undertaken in Kerala, they have created more a social impact than an economic impact. Now let's also understand another point over here. Why the land reforms have failed in the rest of the country. Now, though Nehru was articulating for the land reforms, many of the state governments and the chief ministers of the Congress, they were not interested in taking forward the land reforms. It is because these are going to be the major victims of any such reform. So that is the reason why where the Congress was active, there the land reforms did not get a complete support. And as you know that the land is a state subject, cooperation of the states is very much essential. Now let's go to the Vimochana Samaram in education. Today Kerala has 100% literacy, but way back in 1959, Kerala Education Bill, it was very much controversial. So here, the Kerala government wanted to take back the schools which are not properly maintained or qualitative education was not given. Kerala has a distinct educational tradition. Let's take Nair Service Society. It has established its own schools. And it means every social group has its own schools and colleges, and that has laid the seeds for the education tradition in Kerala, which is a reason for today's literacy. So, when the government wants to take away these schools from different societies, when they fail to meet the quality parameters, there was a huge agitation, and this has been called as Vimochana Samaram. And because of this, the finally Article 356 was imposed as law and order went out of control. And there is no surprise that when Article 356 was imposed, Congress president was Indira Gandhi. And then let's come to the today's problem. Among the labor or workforce, the gender gap is very high in Kerala. Our women labor participation rate is not as expected. That's what it has to work on. So these are the things which we need to read, understand from this article. The long arc to Ankara. So here, Turkey and Pakistan are friends from very long. From the formation of the Pakistan, Turkey has good relations with it. Now, Turkey's relations with European Union are coming down, And Turkey is looking for Asian and African markets. Obviously, India becomes important from an economic and trade perspective of Turkey, and Mr. Erdogan has made a visit to India. As expectations were large, there was no much hype or hope that has been created because of this. The reason is on the three issues, Mr. Erdogan has given a stand contrary to the India stand. And Kashmiri has proposed for multilateral dialogue as a way forward, which India did not agree to. And the second thing is, with regard to NSG entry, Turkey has hyphenated India and Pakistan. And on terrorism, he has referred only to Naxalism and was not inclined to talk about cross border terrorism. So that's why the stand of Turkey is against to India's position. And obviously, Turkey being the part of Islamic Conference, Organization for Islamic Conference, we cannot expect a different stand from it. But being vocal about it is something which is an irritant for India. So here, Mr. Erdogan was trying to the balance relations of India and Pakistan at the same go. On the other side, India also has hosted the Cyprus with which Turkey has a dispute. You know that the North Cyprus is under Turkey's control from 1974, and Mr. Nikos, he has clearly stated that that position is no more acceptable to it and asked for the India's help. And Armenia, it accuses the Turkey of killing more than 1.5 million population during the World War I, and it is expecting an apology from Turkey for the same. And our Vice President has visited Armenia when Mr. Erdogan was visiting India. So this is not very hopeful for Erdogan too. So India wants to show that Turkey no longer can determine its position or impose its position over India, and India is expecting a favorable position from Turkey with regard to its issues are concerned. That message was sent across. That's what is the author's opinion here is. New look Hamas. Now, what is the status of an Hamas? Is it a political entity or a terrorist organization? It is variedly being defined. Across the international community, the today's position of Hamas is a terrorist organization. If you take Palestine, there are two parts to it. One is Gaza, the other one is the West Bank. The West Bank is being governed by the Fatah, which is headed by Mahmoud Abbas. So on the Gaza, it's a landlocked region. Sorry, what I will say it as. So if any access has to come for the Gaza, obviously it has to come from the sea or from the Israel. So it is under the control of the Hamas. So this Hamas, the Israel never considers Hamas as a legitimate entity, and Operation Castlet was launched against the Hamas on Gaza Strip. So and blockade of the Gaza was also undertaken. So finally, today Hamas is changing its stand vis-a-vis Israel, and it is ready to accept 1967 boundaries which are being given by Israel to Palestine. It means it is also ready to accept the existence of the Israel as a separate country. And second, it has clearly stated that Hamas will be fighting to the Palestinian rights, and it is not against the Jewish people. So, the Hamas is giving a soft tone. Because of this, the Fatah stand and Hamas stand, they are going to come together. And a common fight can come against the Israel occupation and having the rights of the Palestinian people. And the world community also has to consider now Hamas as a legitimate partner. And different clocks. In the Niti Aayog summit meeting, Prime Minister has talked about shifting the India's financial year from January 1st to December 31st because it gets aligned with global economies and also gets aligned with international financial organizations. And India's economic activity also better gets aligned with this particular financial year. But however, it's a colonial practice that we have from April 1st to March 31st. Now, Madhya Pradesh, taking a cue from this, without any prior notice, has shifted its financial year from April 1st, no, that is January 1st to December 31st. So it's going to bring in a dissonance between the center's financial year and the state's financial year. And also, as GST is going to be implemented, as financial years are different, it's going to make the entire process cumbersome. So that is the reason why any of such implementation shall be a well thought out plan with clear coordination between the center and the states. It cannot be unilaterally or arbitrarily done by one or the other state to please the center. That's what this article emphasizes on. And then let's go to the OpenEd page. Is AAP's promise of an alternative politics is over? So then let's understand what are the alternative politics which the Aam Aadmi Party has guaranteed to us. So my first question is, can a political party exist without an ideology? It's a rarity. Now if you talk about in Singapore, the major political parties, these are more pragmatic rather than ideology oriented. When you say Lee Kuan Yew, he states that clearly ideology is not worth if it is not serving the purpose. This is what is the case of Mr. Deng Xiaoping in China too. So ideology has to serve the purpose. If not, then if it is impractical and not pragmatic, we need to change the ideology. That's what is these leaders has been thought about. And that is the reason for the wealth of China and Singapore today. So, the AAP is a party that never talked about ideology, but reforming the politics altogether with alternative political behavior, that is through engagement of the citizen and making the politics mass-based and removing the elitism from the same. And to bring in the transparency and accountability at every level of governance, these are the promises given by the Aam Aadmi Party. But in practice, it has made the business as usual because every political party is dominated by a charismatic leader and there is centralization in Indian politics, disconnect between the masses and the leadership, and lack of internal democracy. These are the attributes of every political party. Now, when Aam Aadmi Party, before it come into its political existence, it spoke about the transparency in party funding. But however, when CIC has recommended for bringing the political parties under the ambit of RTI, AAP as like other parties also has opposed to that particular move. And today it stopped revealing who are its donors, stating that the government is harassing them. So it means the transparency goal which it kept for itself, it has got diluted. And unceremonious exit to various founding members of the party, it's also showed hegemonic politics are existing even in the AAP. And civic engagement, which it has spoken about, Mohalla Sabhas, etc., they slowly faded. An alternative agenda which has inspired the people, it has been slowly faded or it is not getting innovative. So these are the things. So that's why as business as usual has become, then the AAP's shine has been reduced. So that's why what is the way forward? I can clearly say one thing. The AAP has been given a new hope to the alternative politics and the vacuum is still existing in India. And there is a space for a new party which can fill that void so that can deepen the democracy. That's what is my opinion about this. The scale of progress so far, it is about sustainable development goals. What we have is called Agenda 30. To review the progress of this Agenda 30, high-level political forum with various heads of the states exist and various countries submit their progress to this forum. So these are called voluntary national reviews. This year India is giving its voluntary national review and it is been prepared by Niti Aayog. The major criticism about this is the government is not in consultation with the civil society organizations while preparing this voluntary national review. And then there is an association of NGOs to monitor this sustainable developmental goals progress in India, that is Vada Na Todo Abhiyan. It has clearly talked about civil society participation. And one thing is, the civil society is coming together to monitor the progress of the government on development itself is a success according to me. because the civil society suffer from something called silo mentality. It means they will never come together to work for a constructive thing. And advanced, next part article is about advanced care directives. Don't equate these advanced care directives with euthanasia. Euthanasia is a passive or mercy killing in general terms it is called as. And it is again passive and active euthanasia. But what are the rights of the patients to accept or deny a treatment which he feels appropriate? With regard to this, he has a right to give his directives. Like, for example, I have a property. Whom I want to give my property, I can give an advanced will. Similarly, I can also give an advanced will with regard to how I shall be treated with dignity in my last stages of life. These are called advanced care directives. There is no legal status on this in India. And there is also no common definition of death in India. If you talk about Indian Penal Code, cease to be a human being, that is what is death. If you talk about registration of births and deaths, heart beating has to be stopped. And if death certificate has to be given, so the brain death is being considered as death. So that is the reason why different laws have different meanings of death. So that we have to bring in a uniform meaning, and also we have to bring in advanced care directives in the law which has been proposed to deal with euthanasia in India. Now let's come to the news page. US Germany slam India for NGO funding norms. This is again FCR, a Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. The Western countries are criticizing India's FCRA as discriminatory, non-transparent, arbitrary. These are the words you remember. But however, what are the human rights issues which are being raised? Because every issue can be a question. One is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and right to form an association in India, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, marital rape, rights of the transgenders, and violence against the minorities. These are very much in news. So that's why you need to have an opinion on these issues of human rights. Let's go to Aadhaar. The proceedings are going in the Supreme Court. Now, one thing is, with regard to Aadhaar Act and the Finance Act passed by the government, that is 139AA of the Finance Act and Aadhaar Act, these are having some contradictions. In alignment with the Supreme Court judgment, Aadhaar Act says that taking an Aadhaar is voluntary. But under the Finance Act 139AA section, what it says is, it is mandatory to have Aadhaar to file the income tax returns. So it means there is an internal contradiction between these two laws. That is what is being raised by the petitioner. And the second is, the government is showing Aadhaar as a panacea for all. Either it is black money, terrorism, everywhere Aadhaar can solve the problem. So to what extent is it true? These are the issues which are being raised over here. Rise and fall of Swachh cities. Now if you talk about a kind of competitive federalism is growing across the countries. The important tools of this competitive federalism are comparative indices. One of the indexes is the Swachh Sarvekshan Index, or the Swachh survey, in which Indore has come first, followed by Bhopal, etc. Who are doing this? The Ministry of Urban Development. And what is the agency doing this? That is Quality Council of India. You need to remember this from prelims perspective. Now, let's come to the business page. The cut corporate tax. Try to understand what is trickle-down effect over here. So, low corporate tax will automatically pull up the capital and it transforms it to investments. This investment leads to increased production. This production will generate the employment. It will benefit all the poor people. This is what is the argument the corporate sector makes. If you see the Trump's argument in the United States of America, this is what exactly is. So it means the trickle-down effect is what is being spoken in this article, where the CII president says that the corporate tax has to be brought down to 18% and exemptions need to be removed for. And then another issue she raises is about the farm income, taxation on farm income. So here, remember carefully, the farm income and taxation on it, it is a state subject. And what are the advantages of this? The tax base will be increased and the tax evasion showing some income as a farm income will be reduced. So on the other side, every farmer, the major issue is the collection of the tax is going to be very expensive if the farm income is being taxed for. So the cost of tax collection is going to dominate or increase over the tax that is realized. And the second thing, most of the farmers in India are marginalized. So the amount realized will be very less. So these are the things which we need to remember in today's newspaper. And with regard to newspaper notes preparation, I'm just trying to revive my process. The reason is I want to simplify the work. I want to do it in a lesser time. So I'm trying to find out a way. Just give me one more day time so that I can do that and I can get back to you on time. And I want to more explain the newspaper rather than revising the things altogether. So we can have once in a week revision classes or something on the newspaper. But whatever be the case, my objective to inform you is this. I want to revise the notes preparation strategy. So give me 1 or 2 days time to get back to the whole process again. Thank you very much.